Welcome to coloring. Hi, Noel. Let me turn on display capture. It's a Tizzy. I'm gonna color my new headmate. There was oh yeah, I forgot about the coloring song. Oh no. How would forget? 1 second. Watch this. I'm gonna do a redo.
La 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 la. First you take the pink, and then some blue, and then the green, and then more pink, and then a dash of blue. Coloring, coloring, coloring. There's another color. Do do do. Look, I drew us. Bus driver, are we there yet?
I did it. I redeemed myself. Yeah. We got 2 new headmates that I want to color characters for. We got Tizzy and Swirlz. And I want to also make these drawings into PNGtubers. And then I also got sketches for Data, Phantom, and Harmony. But I'm not sure if I'm going to get to everything tonight. I mainly just want to get to Tizzy and Swirlz. Stretch. Hi, Rasa. You helped redeem me by reminding me that I gotta play the coloring song, though. Oh yeah, so while I'm working on Tizzy and Swirlz, I wanna play or listen to more of the therapist recommended podcast System Speak. Let's see, which one are we on? I feel like it's been a little while since we listened to System Speak. I'm pretty sure we're on an episode called Making Progress. Twitch redeem yourself. I would have died. Wait, I wanna one day we should figure out how to do there's Twitch redeems where people throw plushies at the I don't know if I want to have plushies pelted at me. That sounds mean. But it'd be cute if there was like a Twitch redeem of plushies popping up of our headmates in some way. Maybe not thrown because I feel like that's mean. I don't like to throw plushies. I feel it's mean for plushies. Like maybe it pops up and does a squeak. Like an animation like it's being squeezed and it squeaks. Something like that. That'd be so cute. Hello?
Okay, so after a series of not so good therapy experiences that at least helped us in different ways, and after trying different ways of therapy and different people of therapy and trying to find a safe therapist that we could actually work with and feel comfortable with and deal with this whole DID thing, we have officially been in therapy with our therapist for an entire year. So in Nerd Town, the question might be, how do we know we're making progress? The answer is, I don't have a clue. I don't have any idea. So while I don't really have any answers to that because I just don't know, I do have some ideas and guesses from things that we have learned that we want to share. So the first way that we know we have made progress so far in therapy is because we have words for things. So not even talking about like dealing with stuff, just having words. We know what it's called. We know other people have it too. We know technically, we're learning, trying to believe that it's not entirely our fault, that it's not our fault. Something like that. I guess we don't know it as well, but we're starting to get the idea of it. And we know the different terms for things like inner world or alters or parts or co-consciousness. We talked about that again this week in therapy. When we know what's going on externally, even if we're not the one out, if we know what's going on outside, that's co-consciousness. We know those words. We also know a whole lot just about the system, being able to identify who is who and what they do and why they're here, or how we can help them, or that we ought to be helping them even. All of that counts, right? So I think that is legit. Like all of those things about knowing the right words for things, like knowing that there are words for things and words for us. And who is who, which of course, just even by default leads to the next thing, which is knowing about how to talk to each other and when to talk to each other, or why it even matters that we need to be talking to each other. And some of that is and we can do that with the notebook or on the app on our phone or through a therapist or writing notes otherwise, or all kinds of different things. Email even sometimes. Just learning anything we can about each other in ways that are respectful and let people be themselves and are accepting, which probably is a general rule for good living in life anyway. So maybe we've accidentally learned some social skills. I don't know. We'll see.
Accidentally.
We've also learned some really big things that have actually taken us more than a year to figure out and have words for and even believe. But I really think that we're at least at some layer at a new place of being able to hold on to these things being true. And that goes back to what we've shared before in other episodes about things like now time is safe. Our therapist and the husband are in now time, and the parents who are dead in now time, if we see them or hear from them, that's memory time because they are not alive now. So now time is safe, and talking about memory time does not change now time. So we can stay safe in the present even though there are things from memory time that we need to talk about. We've learned that there are ways we can talk about things in good and healthy ways, like sharing some things on the podcast and learning about DID on the podcast, or documenting our journey a little bit on the podcast. Even though we don't want to necessarily use it for therapy, it's not therapy in and of itself. We don't need to disclose a bunch of things here, but we can talk about the process of what we're learning and some of the things we experience along the way. It's also okay to talk to the husband or the therapist about most anything, and even maybe trying to make some friends along the way with those who understand and try to blend worlds a little bit. That has been scary, of getting to know people and opening up and meeting some of them in real life, or connecting our family or our real world to them in some ways. has been scary just because not just of trauma in the past, but even more recent trauma of just wanting to be like what happened with family services, or just wanting to be safe and wise in general about boundaries and not repeating things that have happened to us in the past. So that's another reason to learn more about trauma and how it impacts us, because I can't. I'm really having trouble focusing. I thought I had things I wanted to talk about, but it's a gorgeous day and there are birds and the children are not home from school, the outside children. And so I think I'm feeling this urge to play, which I promise that we can play and even the littles can play, but we need to wait till the kids get home from school because I cannot record while the kids are home from school. So we need to do this now and then we can play, I promise. See, negotiation. That's part of what we learned in the last year, right?
Yippee!
Like, I promise I will keep that promise. We will get to play after, but I need to do this. Also, they're building more houses on our road, like down the street. So all of a sudden there's construction now when there wasn't. So I'm sorry about background noise, but it's too pretty of a day to be inside. I just can't. That's another example of things we've learned in the last year are like self-care things. Of things like how to get help with sleeping, how to make sure that someone is eating enough, make sure that we can drive to therapy and back safely, all of those things. Okay, again, I'm totally distracted because I'm sitting on the deck in the back of our house and the grass is so green, you guys. It's so green. I can't get over it. First of all, it's a gorgeous day. There are no clouds in the sky and it's warm but not hot. In Oklahoma, the sun can come out and you can just cook by default, like a fried egg on the sidewalk. Like it's so hot. And here it's warm and it's gorgeous, but it's not too hot and I'm just baffled. Because also in Oklahoma, the grass is brown. Like there's always a drought or there's always dust and dirt because there's not enough water and people need to feed their livestock and grow plants and vegetables and food and farming things. And you can because there's a drought and that's a problem. And so I'm looking out here after these months and months of snow. And we went from brown in Oklahoma to white in Kansas. And now the snow is gone and it's just green as far as I can see. And I don't know if I've ever in my life seen anything like it. And that feels like symbolic of the last year of there is hope. There's this book that is our favorite book in the whole world. And it is called Women Who Run with the Wolves by Clarissa Pinkola Estes. And in the book, she describes hope as green poking through the snow. And that's totally what I'm feeling right now. It's overwhelming me a little bit in a good way. It's just beautiful and we're at peace and everything's okay. So let's just call part of it what it is and just... I thought I had a plan of what I wanted to share today and I came out here to start recording because it was so nice. But there is an incongruence between what I was wanting to share and what was coming out and like how I'm feeling and the way I was presenting it. Like it was just like but this is really overwhelming me. Part of it is what happened in therapy. I feel like if I were getting to describe what's happened in therapy recently, which first of all is like not really my business because it's not my stuff, but I know because we're talking about it. I know what's going on. Well, I mean, I don't know like details, but I mean, I kind of know that for like we came back from spring break from therapy. We came back ready to work on things in a new way. Like, we are actively not just trusting our therapist, but being able to maintain that and hold on to that between sessions, which is new. And we still use like lots of different props. I don't think props is the right word. That's what you say when you have a musical theater husband. Like, what's the word? Like grounding things. Like, we have the watch and we have the teddy bear and we have our notebooks and pens, things like that, that we use to help keep us grounded, and some things to smell or peppermints or whatever to taste. And so all of that is really helpful and keeps us super grounded. And so we still need those props, like we rely on it, but they work and we're able to do it, and that's new. And when we can hold on to that she is real and we are safe, it's like a whole new level of therapy. And I don't mean that it's always easy or that it's as easy for everyone as it is for others. Like, even internally as a system, you have to respect where everyone's at and their differences and their unique places on the healing journey. But it's huge progress for us. And maybe if we're talking about how we know we're making progress, this is an example, because we're able to hold on to that. And because we can hold on to that, it's like all of a sudden for the first time, there's enough safety to work on other things. Like, actual trauma history stuff. I don't know. So we came back from break really ready to work on some things. But every time we went to therapy, something happened that was different than what we thought of, like how it would go down. And I don't know why we think or make plans, because it never happens like we think. And we're not people who can be like, okay, on the first and third week you go, and on the second and fourth week I go. Like, some people have these schedules, or they go lots of times a week, and one day is Little's week, one day is Little's day, and one day is this day, or whatever. Like, no, we're just not that high functioning. We are not that high functioning. But what we can do, and what does help, is we're just not that high functioning. The sun itches me because it's been so long since my skin has felt it. Oh, man.
Sasha vampire
It's a
moment.
beautiful day, but I need like an air mattress or a hammock and a swimsuit. And I'm just in regular clothes because winter.
Oh, we kind of want to make Tizzy's head a little bigger.
Oh, springtime, you tease me.
I just remembered.
Okay, see, I'm having trouble focusing, but I'm trying. It's because Emma is trying to be here, like, all the time. She's kind of getting in my way of, like, trying to stay present and trying to be aware of what's going on. And I don't need her all up in my business. That's part of what's wrong. So much for functioning.
Oh.
Okay. Deep breath. Just kidding. Okay. So what
Just
I'm trying
kidding.
to say is that we had this expectation of what we were going to do in therapy, and then the real life of what actually happens in therapy. And also, as it turns out, oh, butterfly. As it turns out, there is, okay, all the littles take a back seat. I promise we can play outside in a minute. Seriously, just let me finish this.
They'd be so smart.
So there's like a gap between what we expect to happen in therapy and what actually happens in therapy. And then also, like, we're just really slow in therapy. Like, what feels like a really big, hard 2 hours is like a sentence. Is like a small little piece of something that for us feels really big, but like, it's like turtles. Like, I don't know how the therapist can even sit there for 2 hours, because I would be jumping out of my skin. But we're trying, okay? So since spring break, we have been working on a specific thing. Like, I don't want to go into details of it because I'm not trauma dumping on the podcast. We're just not going to do that. But I will say, like, a specific memory that is connected to specifically part of why it's so hard to disclose things. And there's always a layer.
Sorry. Oh, that was so good. It was so weird though, because it sounded like Dojo was like like when you telepathically communicating to me because it sounded kind of echoey and quiet. That's so funny. I hope that was a good volume. I feel like I maybe need to turn up that notif. Maybe I will. But welcome! I'm coloring PNGtubers for our headmates, and also the first couple of ones I'm doing are new sonas that we haven't colored yet, so we're kind of fiddling around with the color schemes and stuff. But I think we generally know what we're going for. Another raid? Maybe we should be looking to get insurance on these things. It's good to see you too. Ah, Art Stream Twins. I'm trying to find where the alerts are. There they are. Let me try turning it up more. I wonder if I need to turn it up all the way. Because it was about in the midpoint. Maybe I'll turn it up to like 75. Oh, wait. I could always play it to test it. How does this sound? It might play twice. I don't know why it plays twice sometimes when I test it, but it sounded like it wasn't playing twice.
Another raid? Maybe we should look into getting insurance on these things.
I rated myself. Wow. Oh yeah, I'm also listening to the podcast system speak while I'm working on coloring.
Of that and any kind of abuse, absolutely. And there are lots.
Okay, let me try turning it up all the way, maybe. Thank you for the feedback. This should probably be good. Oh, I should maybe test it.
Another raid? Maybe we should look into getting insurance on these things.
Oh, I just realized why it plays twice. It's because, it's playing in the testing window and in the main window? I don't know. Yay! I'm glad it's perfect! It couldn't go up any louder, so I thought if it can't, I would have to edit the audio track itself. I'm glad to hear it sounds good! Yippee!
of people that have different specific aspects of that.
It's funny because for me, it sounds the same volume every time, so I would have no idea.
Because Molly had the idea, because she knows so much now, that maybe if we worked through that piece a little bit, it would lower the resistance, so to speak, of talking in therapy, so that talking in therapy would be easier to talk about all the other stuff we need to talk about. So I don't know if that actually works, but it was like the first time we sort of made a group decision in meetings, as far as content we needed to talk about in therapy. So in a way, it was like a huge breakthrough for us and kind of a big deal. But also at the same time, there's 800,000 of us. Not really.
I rated myself with 1,401.
But when you have all these different perspectives of the same thing, it's still really hard to get all those pieces out, much less put them together. And we're not even doing any putting together. We are literally just practicing talking to our therapist. Because if it's safe to do so, then we need to do so. And so it was here's a year of writing out all these secrets in journals. So now let's pick the one that says why we can't say these secrets out loud. And maybe if we can talk about that, then maybe we could talk about these other pieces, which some of them we already wrote down. Not everything and not in detail, but there's enough pieces to know that if our therapist couldn't handle it, we would have already changed therapists. But she can handle it. And here's how I know. Because she is strong enough, and she is smart enough, and she is present enough. And for us, that is what we needed. We need someone who was stronger than our scariest moments. We needed someone who was smart enough to understand us and to keep things in context of knowing we're not completely crazy. And someone who was present enough to endure with us and to not give up on us when things are hard or quiet or slow. And she's a rock star at all three of these things. And so we are not just keeping her, but maybe have finally started to actually participate. Like maybe a year or 2 or 3 in, we are actually doing therapy now. 5 years in, if you count all the other experiences. Who has to go to therapy for 5 years just to learn how to do therapy? Oh my goodness.
Us.
So yes, after a year of working with her, we
Sorry.
are finally starting to talk to her. That sounds so crazy, except I know you guys understand what I mean. So it's been a rough couple of weeks. It has been a really hard couple of weeks while we work through this one specific thing. And not that we've even talked about it at all, other than literally trying to get this story out. Like, Emma doesn't know about it. We haven't put all those pieces together. It's not like we've done anything with the memory. I just mean literally getting it out. Like putting the pieces on the table so that we can play with the pieces. We're not even playing with the pieces, but at least there's a picture on the box. Okay, there's your puzzling for DID today. Does that make sense? So we've been working on that for weeks and weeks and weeks. But this week, for I don't even remember what I was talking about. Something about puzzle pieces, and that's how puzzling it is, because as soon as I tried to capture it, it totally just slipped through my fingers, and the whole idea of what I was trying to say is completely gone. Dissociating, foggy brain. Fantastic. Man, the sun feels good, you guys. I'm hungry for it. I've pulled up my sleeves and I can feel it on my arms and on my face. And it feels so foreign. But so good. As good as the winter was hard. Therapy. Oh, yeah. That's what I was saying. Therapy. Because we've worked so hard these weeks to get those pieces out. And Sarah, who is friends with John Mark, I don't even know their whole story. I just know their names and that they hang out. But she has a lot of the words, not even the experience or the memories. When you read in the workbook and it talks about memory holder or trauma holder, it's not so much that, because it's not her stuff, but it's she knows things and can talk about them. As far as telling the words, I don't know. I don't even want to explain it all, and I don't want to just tattle on her or tell her stuff. But she talked in therapy this week, and talked and talked and talked the whole time. And
Little Kirby.
not necessarily about one piece or one thing, but just holding that of being with our therapist and able to talk to her, and being with her and able to say things. It was so good. It was so good. I can't tell you. Well, I really can't tell you because I don't know. But since then, since we left there and drove home, and today, the next day after, it has been amazing. We are so calm and so at peace, and everyone's so chill. The littles are excited to go play outside on this beautiful day. They are not freaking out. They are not having memory drama. They are not all about triggers, which is where we've been for 2 or 3 or 4 weeks, maybe 6. I don't even know, because that's a time question. But it's been really good. And I don't know how to describe it other than as if we've been under this intense pressure, And therapy this week, like, just turned the valve and let off some of that steam. And I feel like for the first time in a year, 2, 5, 20, I don't know how many years, like, we're okay. And we're at, like, a new baseline that's a normal baseline. I don't mean things won't be hard again. And I don't mean that there's not more hard stuff to talk about, or even this stuff we've been trying to talk about. But something has shifted where the safety level has, like, settled through the layers of all of us into something that is brand new, and being able to talk about things differently and in a new way. And now when we're struggling, it's because things are good and everyone wants to experience that at the same time, like sunshine, right? And so that's an example of progress. That counts as progress. It's annoying, but it counts as progress. There are other things like not being stressed out about work, all of our bills being paid. What else? Like making friends, like trying to connect with people from church where we used to be super involved, and now, like, we still go to church, but since we moved, it's been harder to make friends, and we're starting to make friends at church. And then 2 friends who know about our DID, like sharing more of our story with them and sending our books to them or connecting to them in new ways, and trying to, like,
And big
reach out and learn what it means to have a friend and be a friend. And then other people who have been so kind and patient while we try and learn not just how to do that, but also the boundaries of it, of like what is us and what is not us. And so what that looks like any of our friends in the history of our whole entire life, and however many 30 or 40 years, like, we're just not online people. We just are not messenger people. We've never had messenger until we got on these online groups. And it's not going to be a source of, like, comfort or reaching out or a first thought for us to check it. And even the notifications are turned off. Like, we just don't do a lot of PMing, and we've done more in the last 6 months than probably we're comfortable with. So we're probably backing off of that a little bit just to stay congruent with who we are, rather than the external pressures of who that looks like or how we can practice that. And part of it was the intensity of first connecting in the groups and sorting out who is safe and who is not safe. But now kind of knowing who our friends are and who we can reach out to, and ways to do that in different ways make it easier. So I'm probably even just going to delete Messenger from my phone, because it's just not a thing. It's not a place where we hang out. And in fact, our church even... our church and our family actually has a lot of rules even about screen time. Like, we don't even have a television in our house. We don't have a television. Not that other people from our church don't have television. We just don't have television. Like, we're just really strict about screen time in our family. So it's just not our place to hang out. Plus, we're working on being more grounded and more present. And that includes, like, in the physical world and not the virtual world. So while I'm grateful for, like, Messenger or email or whatever to stay connected to people, and sometimes it's part of friendship is staying connected or reaching out or making phone calls or something like that, like, part of the work that we're doing in therapy right now has to do with being actually present and participating in the world. And so I have to be sure that, like, making friends who also have DID, and so they're online by default because they don't all just live in Kansas City where we do. Like, everyone lives all over, right? So by default, part of that relationship is online, but that's different than me hiding online or avoiding being online. And so it's a tricky balance. And all of that is like progress. We are having to negotiate internal and external rules being like using very broadly. That's just, I don't have a better word to use for it right now. But for having friends and for functioning and not just hiding in the house. Like, these are new things. And things like being out on the trails instead of just on my computer all morning, or making friends instead of just hiding in the closet. Those are different experiences, and it makes our days look different. And participating more with our children differently and being more present with them also takes away from screen time and things like that. And so it's just a lot of pieces to learn, but all of it counts as progress. Being able to share our art is a new thing. I myself am not any good at art, but to see Katie's paintings or some of the things the littles do or ideas they have, that's pretty special for getting to know them, but also just the progress of being able to express ourselves. Trying to take pictures with our children, an assignment we have from therapy, so that they have memories of us with us in pictures, is something we're working on that is really hard for us, just because of some of the things that we endured as a child that was related to having our picture taken or videos and things. And so being sensitive about that, not just for protecting ourselves and DID, but just in general, trying to heal more and share more pictures and participate in those ways. There's just a higher dose of normal in our life somehow. And again, not because everything's easy or because we have it all figured out. We're just making progress. Like we're starting. And it maybe has taken us a year to get started, but we are starting, and I think it counts. And so I wanted to talk about that because it can be so hard. Okay, all of that to say that, guess what our chapter is this week in our group homework? It's about overcoming the phobia of inner experience. Okay, so I can talk about it, but Emma's just going to have to read this chapter and do the homework, because me doing it for her kind of defeats the purpose, right? Like, she's going to have to figure out how to be present and stay and do this. Except she is, and it's crazy because it's changing things and stirring things up in a way, and she, like, is more aware of what's going on, and she's out like longer and longer. Like, I haven't seen Cassie in weeks and weeks and weeks. How can our life be so good we don't even need Cassie around? Like, what is that about? But it says, our inner experience is what we think, feel, remember, perceive, sense, decide, plan, and predict. Oh, that's already above my head. But it says she has to become aware of, learn to tolerate, regulate, and even change how she responds to those inner experiences. So, like, when stuff is happening in life or stuff is happening in the inner world, like, we, all of us, not just Emma, but all of us have to become more aware of what's going on internally and externally. I think that's it. Is that it?
No. Maybe.
It does say that it's actually impossible to change our inner experiences if we're avoiding them. Well, we're really good at avoiding. That's why we have DID. It says, you might avoid them if you're afraid, ashamed, or disgusted. Well, I don't disgust you, you disgust me. No, really. So let me think about that. Afraid? Yeah, check. Ashamed? Yeah, check. Disgusted? I am not disgusting. Let's just put that out there. You might be disgusting, but I'm not disgusting. So that is when you avoid, but serious avoidance of your inner experiences is called experiential avoidance. I can't even say that, but I'm not going to repeat it because I do not want hot mail. I do not want hot mail. I meant hate mail.
I thought so.
No offense to anyone using hot mail. That's not at all what I meant to say. I don't want hate mail, so I'm not going to repeat it, but it was hard for me to say. It's also called the phobia of inner experience. So a phobia is fear and avoidance. Like you feel fear, and so then you do behaviors that avoid what triggers that fear. That's what it says. And then it talks about panic attacks and nightmares and flashbacks, all of which they call intrusions. And say we do things like dissociating to avoid that stuff. So you might even be ashamed, not just of like what happened to you, but the feelings you have about it. So like maybe you're ashamed of getting mad because only bad people get mad, when that's not true. Anger is like a legitimate feeling that has its own place, and you can feel anger without being abusive to someone. But if you don't know that, you might just be ashamed of anger and try really hard not to feel it. And then also talks about being afraid of inner voices from other parts. No, other parts are just annoying because I'm trying to do a podcast. Emma is totally afraid of inner voices, and I think Emma is too, because I've seen it in the journal, so we've talked about that. So they got some homework to do, yo. It may also be validated by actual experiences. So like if you're afraid of being crazy, but then you've also had like a really bad inpatient experience or went to the ER for help and they dismissed you or something like that, like those are re-traumatizing in a way because they like reinforce what you're actually afraid of happening. Does it make sense? So that's another reason it makes it harder to get help or to talk about things. So then it says the avoidance can look like lots of things, like working too much. Ding, 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 ding. Ow.
That scared me.
Not paying attention to yourself, like hygiene or taking showers or brushing your teeth. Those may also have other triggers besides that. But those kinds of things can also be like trying to outrun memories. So like if you stay busy enough, then maybe I won't have to think about memories that are surfacing. I am down with that plan. No, I'm just kidding. I just want to lay in the sunshine. Please, just lay in the sunshine.
You gotta share
Drugs
with
and
the
alcohol
class.
can also be ways to avoid. We are past that, meaning that every day we don't drink. I used to drink. I do not drink now. In fact, this fall will be my 10-year sobriety anniversary. So, boom, chicka ba. Then it says you can also avoid not just your inner experiences, but try to avoid other parts, which I think is where Emma's been for like 20 years. Are you listening to me, Emma? It can be conscious or unconscious, but trying to be aware of it and that it's going on and that the others are there, all of those things help you pay more attention and be more present. They say in this book, what I'm reading from is chapter 5 from Coping with Trauma-Related Dissociation. I mean, I'm not actually reading from the book. I'm reading from Emma's notes from the book because I'm a little spy and I want to know what's going on in the notebook. It says this phobia of inner experiences can develop for 3 reasons. 1, you didn't get help learning how to cope, and you didn't get like reassurance or help or support. And 2, what we said earlier about like thinking your feelings or your responses are bad, and so then you're ashamed of them. And 3, acknowledging inner experiences is like a signal to your brain that something bad is going to happen. So this
Whoa.
goes back to what Dr. E talked about on the polyvagal.
I think they like that one
because
the
it
best.
doesn't matter if it's happening now or if it's happening in the past, and it doesn't matter if it actually is dangerous or you just perceive it as dangerous.
I'm so sorry to hear
because
that.
your brain can't tell the difference. So until you have safety, like I was talking
Tell
about with our
everyone to
therapist,
go away.
then you can't really talk about hard things because number one, you have to be able to differentiate between now time and memory time. And number two, you have to know how to tell your brain that you're safe, like through grounding or breathing or whatever, even when it thinks you're in danger because of memory time. So those are like important things, and that's part of why it takes so long to start really talking in therapy. And it's okay that you take a long time feeling comfortable with and safe in therapy before you start dishing out stuff, because that's true anyway. Like even with just friends down the street or whatever, like I'm making that up, but you know what I mean, like just friends, you don't just tell them everything right away. Like it comes out of your relationship that you build over time, and it's the same with a therapist. So here's why I'm sharing this, because like we felt everything was all calm and stable and good and like the best and strongest we have felt in years and years and years and years and years. Like I'm not kidding about that part since therapy, right? Except guess what? The homework for this week is to write every day, answer like these whole questions about what's happening inside and the like internal experiences and what your phobias are and what your fears are and what you're feeling, and like being present with that. So what? Because now she's getting up in everybody's business trying to learn and pay attention to what's going on and to notice and feel things and be aware of things. And what does that even mean? And like what's gonna happen? So now my polyvagal is tripping out because she's getting better. Except not. Except yes. Except that's progress. So therapy. So here's my point, is that sometimes it gets harder before it gets better. And sometimes it's really hard work just for things to be easy. But even that counts as progress. Allegedly. We'll see.
Maybe I like better with
Thank you for joining us with System Speak, a podcast about dissociative identity disorder. You can listen to the podcast on Spotify, Google Play, and iTunes, or follow along on our website, www.systemspeak.org. Thanks for listening.
You're trying so hard to find the perfect color balance. Like it looks really good. We just want like to find the Hi. Hello, Wastelander. We're trying to get the perfect combination. Like we're checking to make sure that there's not some way to rearrange the colors that we like it even more, if that makes sense. Okay, I'm gonna play the next one called Emma's Cabin. Ooh. Hi, Fable! Oh. Water? Who's running the water?
It's cold this morning.
What if I reverse
Not like the snow,
blue and purple?
but like spring that hasn't quite come yet. We drove down through Missouri last night after the children got out of school.
Hello, Tabby!
They don't have school today. And so we wanted to use the long weekend to get away. My son has surgery on his spine next week. He has cerebral palsy and spina bifida.
Oh, I didn't mean to do that.
And he's losing his
Or
ability to
did
walk
I?
and to control his bowels. And Monday is his pre-op after our appointment with the therapist. So we decided to take the whole weekend together, all of us as a family. It's been stressful. We just got the call at the end of the week, though we knew it was coming. But the surgery is risky, and so we were hoping to avoid it. But it just needs to be done. And it can't wait because he's losing more and more of his ability to walk. And what he loses, we don't get back. So I've been worried about that and focused on that. And I know that it's M who handles all those appointments, because I've been reading the notebook and trying to pay attention. So we've taken a long weekend to come here to our cabin and rest and play as a family before he has surgery on his spine. My mother is buried here, nearby. We're just outside of a small town where my grandparents first met. Branson is just across the river, but the town where my grandparents met is just outside of there, across the river. My grandfather ran the first movie theater in this part of Missouri. And my grandmother drove down from her small town with her girlfriends on a double date to go see the movies for the first time. She didn't date that other boy again after she met my grandfather. It's a pretty sweet story, and I guess it's how I came to be. I'm not sure how my parents met, actually. I think they kind of grew up together. My mother's family was from the city, not this one, a different city. And my father's family was from a farm outside the city. but both their fathers were in the Masons together. And I guess they saw each other in high school at music camps and things as well. So maybe that's the beginning of my story too, as I'm learning it. The movie theater where my grandparents met is in a little town called Hollister, just across the river from Branson Landing. The town where my grandmother was from is a small town just north of here, outside of Springfield, called Sparta. That's where my mother is buried. She was cremated because of the accident. There wasn't enough of her left to just embalm her, so we didn't really get a choice on that. But I guess it's fine. It just is. The ashes of a person are heavier than you would think, more than you would think, and yet not at all as much as a person. I remember that. There's a small cemetery that's just a family cemetery where all the headstones from 1700s and 1800s, everyone is buried there. So that's where we took her. But no one paid to help me bury her. And so I had to get permission just to bury her ashes in the plot with my grandparents, digging just enough to get the ashes down. And just enough to place a marker that I made myself from cement and shattered dishes, her own china, that my oldest son broke the week that he came to live with us, the week before we got her ashes back and buried her. So there's bits of glass and bits of china, and I tried to write her name in it because I had already paid for everything else and there was no money left to buy a headstone. And her family wouldn't help me. So I did the best I could. So we stopped there last night on the way down just to say hello, to say goodnight as the sun went down, to let the children see their family names on the stones. Marked there to remember and to walk away from. Our cabin is only about an hour from there, so after that it was an easy trip. It was actually easier to get here than it had been from Oklahoma, so that was good for us to learn. The kids unloaded the van quickly. They try so much to help. And they were running and playing. And my youngest daughter fell and she was crying. But I couldn't see any skin broken, and thought maybe she would just have a nasty bruise. And so I gave her an ice pack to help her feel better. And we snuggled and tucked her into bed because it was so late already. But in the night, she woke screaming. And she couldn't put weight on her leg. And so my husband took her to the ER and they x-rayed her leg and it's broken. So now my daughter has a cast on her leg after we told her she could swim. And we're supposed to go to the theme park today. But she was up all night with my husband at the hospital. Like, even when she's healthy, things go wrong. Or even when we're trying to do something good for them, we can't keep them safe. I cried and I felt bad. I felt badly that she was hurt, but I also felt badly that I didn't know she was more hurt than she was. But I thought she was just tired. But when we realized it was different than that, we did take care of her right away. We really did. And the pediatrician and the doctor at the hospital both said that we didn't do anything wrong. And I know they meant to reassure me. But when they said that, it made me panic about family services. I don't want someone to hotline us again just because our daughter got hurt. Or to think we were doing something wrong just because the children were running around. We were outside with them. It wasn't like we had left them alone. I know that we're tired from not sleeping last night. And I know that we're anxious about the spine surgery next week. And I know I'm on edge because my therapy homework this week has been really hard. And so it's all kind of built up to make me anxious and sad. Maybe even frustrated. But I thought if maybe I talked about it, it could help me with that stuff about not avoiding. Because the more I do the homework about avoidance, the more I realize I just avoid a lot, actually. But it's also true that I'm trying. Before we left yesterday, in the morning, my daughter had a field trip. And it was to a farm. And I've only gone once before on a field trip with my daughter. And that was in the fall, since starting therapy. Because my therapist said that sometimes being friends with other moms is important. But I have such social anxiety, so much anxiety in general. that it's really hard. But I tried. And I tried again yesterday. But mostly because that was the only way my daughter could go. Because they don't want to regulate her oxygen outside of the school building. And it wasn't a day she had a nurse with her that could go on the trip. And so I went. And it was an interesting experience. Because it was on this farm. So my daughter was delighted with all the animals. Baby goats and baby pigs and baby cows and baby chickens. Baby ponies and a baby donkey. Turtles and fish. Even owls and hawks and an eagle. She loved it. She played so hard and it was really good for her. But also, if I think about avoidance and things I avoid and also triggers, I feel like there were a lot of layers there. From the farm setting. There were some things that I saw or experienced or felt that were good. And I could tell that the boy one and some of the little ones were really having a good time. And I think some of the time I lost some time because they were enjoying it. I was anxious about that because I didn't want to do anything wrong or embarrassing or to get in trouble. But it was okay. And I tried to not avoid it, and I tried to just be present and notice what was happening. But there were a few other things that I think maybe were triggers in a not pleasant way, in a not good way. And sometimes it's hard to stay present with those things, or to let those things feel up inside me, like to become something that I'm aware of instead of avoiding, because it's not pleasant and it's not good. And I feel like my fear grows faster than I can control it. Or that the reality of the past comes to the forefront so close, so quickly, that what if I can't avoid it? Or what if it is real? Or what if I lose now time? And it frightens me. But even then, I try to just acknowledge that and feel that. And what it feels like is a lot like this morning, where it's too cold to be sitting out on the porch in summer pajamas, trying to journal or share things on the podcast. But at the same time, there's something good and bright about the sunshine, and about the birds playing, and about school buses going by in the distance, and the sounds of the highway on the other side of that, and the brightness of the water in the river and the way it sparkles. And there's something about a morning like this that makes the cold worth enduring. Like maybe the therapist and the workbook are right. And maybe the more I expose myself and the more I try to stay present, the warmer the day will become. Maybe it won't always be winter. Maybe it won't always be cold. Maybe I won't always be afraid. Thank you for joining us with System Speak, a podcast about dissociative identity disorder. You can listen to the podcast on Spotify, Google Play, and iTunes, or follow along on our website, www.systemspeak.org. Thanks for listening.
Well, okay. It works now. I'm so sorry. I don't know how long I was muted. I guess voice mod got muted somehow. I must have accidentally pushed the mute key that we have binded for the mute button on voice mod. I'm so sorry about that. I hope I wasn't muted too long. I don't think I was really saying anything for a while, but I was trying to say that I'm glad you love the podcast. We love it too, and we're almost considering doing a podcast because of the podcast. Where's the system speak? That was weird. Why did I accidentally hit the minus button or something? I don't know why I would hit minus. But I am setting up these images. Let's see, I need closed mouth, open eyes. And then ooh, creature. Hello? Oh. Look at Tizzy's real. Oh, wow. Tizzy's real. Oh, there's like a speck of like blue here. That's kind of bugging me now. Is that really? Yeah. Oh. No. La crichara! Maybe I can just edit the frames in Paint really quick. I would do this later, but I feel like I won't remember. Oh, I guess I'll play the next one while I'm doing this. I'm so happy we finally settled on color scheme. Not color scheme. We already knew what color scheme we wanted pretty early on, but like, what it would be, what color. That took a while to figure out because there were so many good combinations we kept doing and everything looked good, but then everything kept looking a little better. We finally figured it out. Yippee! Oh, what? Why is it like that? Maybe I need to edit it in Flash, actually. Oh no.
Okay, so this group and this workbook are making things way crazier. And I don't know how to tell if that's like a good thing, like we're making progress, or if it's actually a problem. Because it's becoming my problem, and I don't want it to be my problem. So the whole chapter this week that we had to do in the workbook, Coping with Trauma-Related Dissociation, the whole chapter was about avoidance. Now, let me just say from the inside, there's a reason that we have avoidance. And there's a reason why Emma doesn't need to know everything, or why we are avoiding things, or why she needs to avoid things, or why we help her avoid things. I'm just saying, it's kind of the whole point of DID. Except that I get that if we're going to get better, we need to learn how to do it differently. But I don't know how to do that without making things crazier or harder or worse or messing everything up. So I'm sure that's why we're in group, and I'm sure that's why we have the homework and the workbook, and maybe that's why we even go to therapy. But until we figure all that out, oh my goodness, it's making everything harder. And I don't understand why it has to get harder before it gets better. So the three big things about this chapter about avoidance are that, number one, avoidance or dissociation happens because we didn't get help with trauma or rescued from it. And so we never learned how to experience those responses. Number two, it's judged as good or bad, like what happened to us, and we naturally want to avoid what's bad and unpleasant. Well, let me tell you, the past is bad and unpleasant, people. Okay, that's the whole reason that we're really good at avoidance. So doing the opposite of avoidance is like creating havoc at a whole new level, and I don't even know how to manage this. I can't even. And then the third thing was facing hard things triggers intense feelings and memory time experiences. And so it feels dangerous. And that's the part I want to talk about, because she was supposed to answer these questions about avoidance every day this week. I think she got out 2 days, maybe 3 days in the notebook.
Avoided the avoidance questions, I see.
Let me just say, no. Oh my goodness. Her focus on trying to face things instead of avoid them landed us in Missouri. You guys, we don't need to be in Missouri. I mean, a shout out to our friend Donna, who we almost got to see there. Well, she saw her, but I didn't see her. I want to see her. That was not cool or fair. So we'll fight over Donna now. But there's no reason for us to be returning or getting called back to Missouri or dealing with things there. Like,
Okay.
It's so complicated, I can't even tell you. I mean, everything is fine. We are safe. The outside kids had a grand time. We were with the husband, so everything is fine. And that is just lovely. But there's so many things that are there and triggers that are there, and not all of it bad. Like, I get that John Mark and the boys and the kids had a blast. Inside kids and outside. Everyone had fun. So in a way it was good for us, and I'm trying to just let that be. But we also did a lot of hard things. Like, on the way down, we stopped at the mother's grave, and then on the way to Oklahoma from Missouri, we had to go through Arkansas, where we stopped at the father's grave.
Wait, hang on. Let me... It's Tizzy's coloring stream now. I'm Tizzy, I'm coloring. Am I so convincing that I'm Tizzy? I'm coloring. Oh, where's I love how the colors came out so much. I'm so happy with how this came out. Whee! Okay, I'm gonna color Swirlz now. I'm gonna play the podcast in a second, but I want to get set up so I don't get distracted first. Swirlz is a pig. Swirlz is a Mangalitsa pig, I think it was called. Mangalica pig. It's a pig that's really fluffy and looks like a sheep. Snuggle, there you are. You just missed Tizzy. Oh no. Here comes a special friend. Piggy. And Swirlz was kind of thinking they might want orange and yellow. Maybe pink. Maybe not pink, but orange and yellow mainly. And maybe like a third color. We'll figure it out. Maybe a little red. Warm colors, basically.
On the way to the in-laws. So, hello. So,
hello.
I don't know how long it's been since we've been there, but why do we have to just stop and face all the hard stuff? Why is that helpful? How is that a good thing? I don't even know. And so now we're having terrible nightmares. The stuff that is getting puked up in therapy, like just in a notebook, I can't even, it's just becoming super complicated in a new kind of hard way. And I know that we agreed, like as a group, as best as we're able to at this point, that it was time to start talking to the therapist in a new way, because we can totally hold on to that she's actually real, she's safe, and we need to talk about this stuff. And so we're sort of in agreement on that. But as soon as we started letting things slip, like everything started falling apart. And everything immediately got harder. So how do you know if this is a good thing and what is actually helping and what is, we just need to stop this here and not be talking about all of this? Because that's a little bit kind of how it feels. So we're trying to remember that we can hold on to now time is safe, but also talk about hard things. And last week in therapy, we talked about a lot of hard things. I don't mean we went into we did not go in like in depth of anything specific, but kind of a lot of things came up, and approaching those subjects at a surface level and mentioning them and starting to put pieces together and to sort of put them out there with the therapist and realize that she's not freaking out and she's still keeping us safe, and now time is still safe and we can keep ourselves safe, and letting everyone inside kind of be aware of that has been a really big deal. And I think it's the right thing, and I think it's a good thing, and I think that maybe is the very evidence of our progress, but it's also absolutely terrifying. And it's making the notebook really hard to do and to keep journaling between sessions, because more and more stuff is getting puked out like fur balls. And
You mean hairball?
It's really hard then to keep that blurry line more solid between now time and memory time, especially when we do something like go to the old cabin in Missouri. Like, the cabin in Missouri where we went this weekend, like, it's not even a cabin, it's like a condo thing, right? So we inherited it when the mother died, but we grew up going there all the time. Like every weekend when we were little, almost. We went there long before like Branson was anything, and when Branson only had like the Puppet Palace and Waltzing Waters before it's the crazy showtown that it is now. And we weren't going there for the shows. We went there, I think, to get away from the family. I think our mother was trying in that way. And so we would go there, but she would either stay in her room or like kind of overdose on pills and sleep all weekend. And so those weekends in Branson were like the best pieces of our childhood, probably, because we could romp around outside and play in the woods and by the lake and everything with our brother without like any trauma or drama, because our father wasn't there, our mother was asleep, and no one cared. Like, there was no like getting locked up or getting hurt or being hurt or anything like that. It was just we were completely on our own, probably to a neglectful degree, but we're fine, we're adults. You know, it's not like today where the children can't even play in the street without one of us being out there. So I really have mixed feelings, because maybe that was a safe place to start, and maybe that is exactly right and what we need to be talking about, but it's also so scary, because if we talk about those things, then we're going to talk about other things, and I don't know what all is going to come up or what all is going to come out. And so I have like as much anxiety about that and feeling like I'm losing control of what's getting filtered or not filtered, that I don't even know what to do about it. So this weekend brought up a lot for us because of being in that place and all of the memories there, except they're not necessarily bad memories, and that's kind of the first time for that to happen. And so I don't know if that's what like drew Emma to go, or if it's because Dawn was trying to run because we were talking about so much stuff and that's just where she ran, or I don't know. But like, I don't even know how it happened, because it was not at all planned. It was completely spur of the moment, but we did it somehow functional enough that we went with reservations to the cabin. Like, we could actually get into our cabin, and we went with the whole family. We weren't on our own or running away exactly, or maybe we were, but we took them with us. But that's different than hiding or disappearing. So somehow it was more functional, and the memories that we had were good ones. And maybe it's because the therapist asked us about, I don't know how she asked it, because I wasn't there, But she asked something, I saw it in the notebook. She asked something about anything good from the parents. And so I don't know if just thinking so much about that or trying to identify something good and going to the cabin was our good. And so we ended up actually physically there, which is like 3 hours or 4 hours from our house. 12 hours if you have 6 children in the van with you. So I'm not sure what happened, and I'm trying to piece it together, and I know I'm rambling a little bit, but I have to talk out loud about it to process it, and I need to figure out what happened because it wasn't entirely bad. It's like, do we share memories a little bit, except they were good ones, and so it was like a safe way to practice that? Like, are we developing skills at that? Or is it more like something malfunctioned and I don't know why we went to Missouri? Or is it just everything's chill and we also went to Missouri? I really don't know. What I do know is that they wrote a lot while we were there, and we had a lot of time to think about things and to sort of let things sit in a safe way, because we were in a place that's very triggering, except we were also with the husband and with the children and between therapy, like literally after therapy and now before therapy, and we haven't been home yet hardly. And so it was a safe time and space to sit in that environment. So it's almost like, here's the part that's getting to me. And maybe it's a good thing, but here's what's like significant. It's almost like we did on the outside what's happening on the inside. Does that make sense? Like, externally, we went in a safe way at a safe time, exposing ourselves to what was a little bit triggering, but not actually bad, in a way, in a setting where we all kind of have memories in different ways, and a way that sort of connects us, both internally and externally. So there was this weird new level of co-consciousness with some people, if I'm understanding co-consciousness. Like the therapist has been talking about it. We've been writing about it. It's been in group and in the workbook a little bit. And I think some of that was an example of it. Like, there were a lot of us that were kind of aware that that's where we were and that that's what was going on, and that we were having lots of memories from the past, but also that those memories were good ones. And so it wasn't that it was a bad week or that anything bad or wrong happened. It was just super trippy. Like, it really tripped me out, and I haven't quite recovered or feel fully present since then. The other thing that's happened in the last week, at the same time as all of that going on, is the littles have been writing a lot about their time with the therapist, but as part of that they're talking about is about good touch and bad touch. And not just bad touch as in like getting hurt or abuse, but specifically about unwanted touch. And I had never ever thought about that, even like with our outside kids, because there is a lot to be said about like grooming and touch that's not appropriate, but they try to make it feel special or make it feel good or as if you're getting rewarded when it's actually not appropriate. So I know already, like the outside kids, we never make them hug their grandma or never make them kiss Aunt Sally or whatever. Like, we don't force that, because their body is their body, and if they are not wanting a hug or attention physically or physical affection, we don't push that on them. That's not fair or appropriate. But we never thought about this in the context of our own abuse or our own experiences in the past or about how abuse happened, that there were ways at different times and in different experiences that it was set up such that not that you wanted it to happen, but that you were kind of manipulated into it happening or tricked into it happening. And then one issue that's come up for us, just barely, like I've seen it in the notebook for the first time this week, is about being taught or made or tricked or whatever into liking it. And I don't mean liking being abused, but I mean just like the physical responses, the natural physical responses to different things. Or growing up, and I know one thing that is like way too much information, but like I know that I can be way more like aggressive than what my husband is, and that makes him uncomfortable, and we've had to work really hard on those boundaries of what is comfortable for him, and a lot of shame issues that I have for what I was taught growing up, like sexually, or about pain, or about different, almost, I don't know how else to say it, but almost like the culture of how my identity, or like my sexual identity or development, happened because of growing up in abuse and because of growing up in different settings. And so not only learning to like what was wrong, but also being more comfortable being hurt, or also not knowing that should not have been happening as a child, or feeling bad because of those pieces of knowing how to manage the pain, or knowing how to manage like your body responding to what they did, or knowing how to push away the shame in that avoidance kind of way, like has been our notebook. But at the same time, not realizing that there were others inside who were younger, or who did not like it, or who were being hurt in ways I didn't know about, or who were being exposed to things that I didn't know about, or realizing if I'm like created just for one piece of things, then not understanding that that's out of context to what everyone else is experiencing. And so I didn't realize how it all fit together until I read specifically it's until I read specifically about one of the littles, the one with words, they call her. I don't know if I'm allowed to say her name or not. I'll have to ask Sasha. But the one who like is starting to talk about some of these things and helping the other littles to talk about some of these things with the therapist, when she wrote in the notebook this week about like the way some of the others came to be, and I don't know how to explain it other than like a family tree, which in itself is kind of triggering actually, but like for us, there's one of the littles that was primarily for the mother, and one of the littles that was primarily for the father. But if we take like just the father one, for example, and again, I don't want to say any names that I don't have permission to say, so I'm not mentioning that. But if we take the one for the father example, then from her, like, there were other, I don't know if it's like splits or they were born or how you talk about it in the right words. I don't know the words for it, but there are others that came from her, like one for this thing and one for this thing and one for this thing, because those things happen over and over and over again for years. And so it was like she wasn't enough to handle that and that and that. And so from her, she experienced all the pain of those things, but it was this one that dealt with it, and this one who dealt with it, and this one who dealt with it. And then when that was not enough, like as we got older, then like other things happen, and then developmentally. And so like there I am at 13 realizing that I either like realizing that like to survive I have to deal with this, and I have to figure out how to endure it or like it or be good at it so that I can just survive. And I don't think that that's fair, and I don't think, but at the same time, like, it's just who I am and who I was. And so like coming down into the confines of our current relationship and choosing to be committed to that, if only because all the other relationships I tried ended up so dangerous or so awful or so miserable that I was just unhappy. And so even though this like limited me in lots of ways, he was kind and safer in ways no one else ever had been. And so I was agreeable to that.
Oh yeah, sorry, Tubby.
But now looking back, like I'm starting to like have a whole new layer of my own shame issues of if I hadn't have done this or done this or done this. And that's like it just as an adult, like I didn't know better, and I didn't know that others were suffering because of what I was doing. And I want to be careful and take my own responsibility, and I want to, and I know that I need to be accountable for that, but I don't know how to work from what happened to me in the past to dealing with my own stuff without it impacting them, like even being able to talk about it. Like I didn't know that things that I was doing, that they were getting hurt. It was like because they were getting hurt, they couldn't deal with the part of having to be good at what I was doing. And so there I was, and this is what I do, and this is who I am. But I didn't know that they were getting hurt. Like, I don't know how to explain it. It's like one experience, half of it got assigned to me and half of it got assigned to them, and I didn't know what that they were enduring, and I didn't know that what I was going through was not as it should be as far as like healthy, normal development of children. I didn't know, or that my adolescence was at all like abnormal, or my adolescence was at all unsafe, much less like the years of destruction of young adulthood or everything I went through those early years, and trying to stay away from the people that now I understand were trying to help me, but at the time I thought they were just trying to like lock me up or whatever. And so I just kept trying to get away, and I just kept trying to get out of that, and I just kept trying to go back. But now, like the notebook and the podcast and the therapist and the family that we have now, like all of these things, learning about these layers and learning about these pieces and seeing things as a whole is a whole different perspective. And I feel like a whole new shame of not just what was done to me, but what I did to myself. And I don't know which is harder to deal with. And as I think about like that difference, when I look in the notebook, like the one for the mother and the one for the father are still both waiting for the other parent to rescue them. So like the one for the mother thinks the father is good and that he's going to help her get away from the mother. And the one for the father thinks the mother is good and going to help get her away from the father. And I don't know how to deal with that, of like telling them neither one are good, neither one are going to help, neither one are going to rescue them. And like, I don't know how to get through that, much less we have rescued ourselves and we have gotten to a safe place now. So maybe that's where we're supposed to focus, and maybe that's what therapy is about. But it's just heartbreaking and like gut-wrenching to read and to sit with and to deal with and to see that perspective and realize that that's part of what's going on and part of why I was even born or came to be, or whatever is the word, as far as my earliest memories. And like, they're not, innocence is not the right word, but in like when I read what the mother, the one for the mother, when I read what she has written here on the notebook on this page, like it's all about this setup for what the father is about to do to the one that's for the father. But the one for the mother doesn't realize that. She just thinks that he's getting her out and getting her away from the mother, and is going to get special attention that she is waited for and needed from the mother but not getting from the mother. And so like, I don't want to read it and I don't want to go into details more than that. That's already plenty enough triggering. But reading this and seeing like she doesn't realize what I know is about to happen. And what if that's my fault? Like if I would have faced things instead of avoiding them, what if I could have gotten us away? Or what if I could have stopped it from happening? Or what if I could have done something different? I mean, I know in this example we were like 10, and a 10-year-old can't stop an adult. Like I know that in my head, but I don't know how to like hold on to that or deal with realizing what a setup it was and what a trap everything was, and how like no wonder I don't trust people. No wonder I don't believe what people are saying when they say, oh, I'm on your side or whatever, because no one was. And because the people who said they were the very people trying to hurt me worse. And so when someone says that, it feels like a danger signal of, you're actually really triggering me right now. Please stop saying that. Like, because it always meant something worse was happening. And I think that's another reason that sometimes as an adult, like a young adult, I sometimes stayed in those really awful domestic violence situations with those alcoholics when I was in those relationships, because I knew that I could predict that. At least I knew what was happening. I knew what those truths were, as opposed to leaving that and trying to be in a safe relationship like we're in with the husband now. Like, it freaks me out, and it's really hard sometimes to just be present in that relationship, because I'm waiting for the day he's going to change his mind. I'm waiting for the day the therapist says, this is actually too much and now you've said the wrong thing and it's officially my limit, and so you're done here. Please leave and don't ever come back here. Like, I'm waiting for that to happen, because no one has rescued us. No one did help us, and I have worked really hard to get us away from all that. And so now to go back and face it is really, really difficult. And to go back and sit with it and like look at it or let her see it, no. Like, how do you even, I don't even know how to do that safely. I don't know how to do that and hold on to now time is safe, because none of it feels safe and none of it was safe. And so how do I know that now is different? The other part of it is just feeling crazy, because the more that you see all these layers and the more of trying to learn between now time and memory time, means the more you recognize like what was happening to you and what was created within you to deal with that. And so part of what came out in the notebook this week is that the playroom where one of the really little ones plays and is like I knew already in that house that it was down the hall from like the father's room and studio, but what came out in the notebook this week is we realized like it wasn't actually a playroom. It was the laundry room, and it was where the dirty laundry came down the chute and like landed on the floor, and that when we could get away from the father at night, we could go sleep on the dirty laundry to like rest or recover or whatever. And in the laundry room there was this picture, like a painting, like an old black and white painting of a playroom. Like there was a rocking horse and there were toys and this like a nursery kind of picture painting. I don't know how else to describe it. And we could see that painting from the pile of laundry. And so like this whole thing with this little, like she's 4, about being in the playroom, like she was the only good we had, and those were the only good things we had. And now all of that is imagination. All of that was created internally. It was not an actual place externally. And it means that all those times we thought we were in the playroom were all these times after we were abused. And I don't know how to deal with that. I don't know how to like let that in my brain. I don't know how to let her connect that, or how to communicate these pieces that are going on or coming out or unfolding or that we're seeing. Like, this was the hardest, cruelest chapter about DID this week. I understand learning that avoidance is what dissociation is about and how that's protective and all of those things. I get those layers, but to put it together, to reach beyond that veil or beyond that curtain of what we're avoiding and to look at it, that's harsh. It's harsh and it's awful and it's messy and I don't like it. And I don't like that I was the one getting stuck with what was bad and having to avoid how bad it was by thinking that I liked it. Like, you can't fix that. How do you fix that? Like, that just makes me wrong from the beginning. There's no way to redeem that. I don't know how to heal that. I don't know what to do with that or who I'm supposed to be if that's always a piece in me. And it is like the deepest and darkest shame of everything I felt thus far, of everything we have noticed thus far. And now, because everyone's talking and everyone's reading the notebook and all of this communication that everybody wanted, now they all know. So how am I supposed to show my face? How am I supposed to participate or go to therapy or see my husband or even look him in the eye, much less go to therapy or talk about these things? I don't know, and I don't have good answers. I just know it's been a really hard week for therapy and a really hard week of dealing with therapy, and that I need coping skills not just to deal with like hard things from the past. I need coping skills to deal with therapy itself.
Thank you for joining us with System Speak, a podcast about dissociative identity disorder. You can listen to the podcast on Spotify, Google Play, and iTunes, or follow along on our website, www.systemspeak.org.
Thanks for listening.
I was saying all this stuff and there was no sound. Oh no. What happened? There must be some key that I'm hitting that is making a voice mod mute. It's supposed to be... Yeah, it's the minus button, but I'm not hitting the minus button. Is there some other key that... That doesn't make any sense. It's so weird. That happened twice. Oh, that's so weird. What was I saying? Oh, I was just saying that I would color data, and then that might be it for tonight. Because tonight was going to be a shorter stream because we usually don't stream on Saturday because we go to bed early. But we couldn't stream Tuesday, so I was going to do a baby stream tonight. I guess it's not that much shorter than a normal stream, probably like 3 hours instead of 4 hours. What was I gonna say? Or what did I say? That I gotta re-say now. Oh, I was saying how Phantom and Harmony don't really have anything that they want to use the PNGtuber for. We just wanted to have everybody have a PNGtuber just for whenever. And Data was going to use PNGtuber for therapy. And then I went on a tangent how in system speak they were talking about how they don't feel like they're functional enough to decide who shows up to therapy. And we're kind of that way, but also not. We're like that way, but for a different reason. Like we are able to switch headmates when a headmate needs to or wants to say something or whatever. But what usually ends up happening is that some other situation comes up with a headmate that now they gotta do therapy more. Like Chalky's been really wanting to meet our therapist, but Chalky like never has anything like bad happened to her. She's never like negatively and have you ever not been able to switch? I think we're always able to switch. It's just sometimes the switch doesn't stay. I think we said once how for work sometimes we try to co-front, like if we're having a difficult time, we try to co-front with a headmate that wouldn't be having a difficult time to get to feel more secure or whatever. But then it's like if there's no like significant reason for them to be there other than just us telling them to be there, they probably won't stay. Like, wait, you were supposed to be here, come back. I'm playing the next one now. We gotta get a referee up for data.
Well, today's a beautiful day. If you didn't know it, it's
that
like
John Mark?
spring, and I mean there's no snow, and the sky is blue, and the trees are green, and there is grass.
No way.
And at the park, I can see flowers and ducks
Quack.
and gooses.
Oh! How'd you like
And
it?
there are children playing, happy children. And some of them are in a class eating lunch. And I wish I was eating lunch. Except that I came to the park so we could swing. Because them girls want to swing and they like to swing, and I can bring them here to the park by the therapist, and we can swing and play and go for a walk, and it's not hot or cold, and it feels so good. So we're just playing, and I was running and playing and swinging. And there's a creek, and so I go exploring. Because we had some hard weeks of therapy, and we need some playtime, and we do not have outside kids with us right now, so I don't even gotta be responsible. I just gotta be safe, and I know how to be safe, because now time is safe.
Yeah.
And our therapist told them girls that now time.
Hang on, I gotta show you something. Nana does. What do you call the Dragon Ball thing? Something instinct. Ultra instinct. Nana does a Dragon Ball reference in the manga because of having. I think that's because of having the same voice actor as Frieza. I love Nako. Okay. I don't want to interrupt the podcast. Where'd it go? There's so many tabs. Where'd it go? There it is.
Time is safe forever. And our therapist said now time is safe means we got out of there already and nobody's gonna hurt us now. And now time is safe means even if you talk about memory time things, and even if it's hard sometimes, even then it's still safe in now time. So if you have to talk about some things that are hard things, now time is still safe. And they cannot change it because they are dead. And because we already got away. And she said we got away because we are brave and we are strong. And even I am strong. I thought for just one hot minute that maybe I was not strong because I thought I was strong, but then I realized them girls got hurt anyway and I could not get them away. So I was thinking maybe I'm not strong, and I kind of started to fall apart about it. Everything just falling apart. But I talked to my therapist, and my therapist said I am still strong and I am still brave, and now time I'm brave and strong. She said those people that do bad things are just people doing bad things. They aren't really monsters that can get me. They aren't really people who can find me now, partly because they're dead. So it's okay to talk about. And in memory time, I was still brave and I was still brave and I was still strong because I was trying. And if I was trying, then I'm still brave and still strong, even if your plan don't work. Cause see, I had plan get them off of us, or I have plan get away from them, or maybe I can donkey kick them. like a donkey can kick pretty hard. It'll hurt if a donkey kick you, and I think if I'm really strong, maybe I can just donkey kick them, and it'd be on like Donkey Kong.
Wait, I gotta share.
But that didn't work.
I gotta share this for if anybody doesn't know. This headmate that's talking right here, our headmate Swirlz is like this headmate of System Speak helped us discover Swirlz, cause as like a kid we'd get stuck in a southern accent sometimes, and we didn't know why. And then when we heard, I'm almost getting stuck in it right now. This Swirl's trying to take over my stream. When we heard System Speak, John Mark's like voice like came really naturally to us. Like it's fun to talk like John Mark, and it's like it's really easy. It comes naturally. It almost felt like not like he was a part of our system, but like we had a headmate that was just like him, and or sounded just like him. Then that whole experience happened where we got really high because we had too big of a piece of a brownie, and we got stuck in the voice to the point where we physically could not get unstuck. And then we realized that headmate was real all along. We thought we just liked doing that kind of voice just because we like voice acting, but it was a headmate all along. And Swirl says howdy.
And I think, man, I messed everything up because them girls still got hurt. I thought I can make it stop, but I didn't make it stop. We just made Cassie. And I never thought about it before till the notebook. And I thought we just make it stop, but really I just made somebody else do it. but I didn't mean to make nobody else do it. And so I feel bad because I've been mad at Cassie for a long time, and really I was just mad at myself. I was mad at myself for needing help from Cassie, so then I was mad at Cassie. But really, Cassie don't do nothing wrong. Cassie just being Cassie, and I kind of did need her help, so I'm glad she helped me not let them girls get hurt, but I didn't know she got hurt. And everybody's just getting hurt around here. But that's memory time. It's not now time. And if we want to talk about it, we can start talking about it. Because our therapist, she knows about it now. And she knows some things. And she's still going to be our therapist. She's not going nowhere. And she's still my buddy.
Thank
and
you, Fookster.
I can share my time, and I can stay and listen, or stay and help, or be close and know it's okay because we're still at her office.
I just saw that
so
title.
That can make me still a
Swirlz
helper.
might want to play some of that.
Because if I'm a helper, then I feel pretty good about helping. Because now time is safe.
Swirlz casually
and our
hijacking
therapist,
my
her
stream
office is
to
safe.
say they want to play song.
So
Boy, windy.
So when I am at the therapist, I can help them girls know it's okay. I can tell Molly, and she can help the girls get to the therapist for talking. And we can talk about some hard things. But the hard things, they are a memory time. And talking to the therapist is now time. So it feels like both are happening, but really just now time is happening. Memory time is already finished. And so one thing we talk about is for touching. And here's what you gotta know about touching. Touching is only okay if you want it, and if it's appropriate for what you're wanting. Touching is not okay if you don't want it, or if you don't want to be hurting and it's hurting you, or not appropriate for hurting you. That's bad touching. But she said not good touch, bad touch. She said safe touch, unwanted touch. And I like it better because the other one confused me some, because it may have a lot of questions for Cassie and some other things and the Taylor. But if I think safe touch, like now time is safe, and what does safe mean? And unwanted touch, I know if I want to be touched or not touched, or if someone asks my permission or not ask my permission, and a therapist asks my permission and pat my hand just a minute, and that's safe touch example. And if you learn example of safe touch, you know what is unwanted touch, and you know when it don't feel okay. It's okay for it not feel okay because it's not okay. And that's true in now time, and it's true of memory time. I learned that today. That's true both times, now time and memory time. It can be safe touch, or it can be unwanted touch. And that really helped me a lot. You know what else our therapist said all of us. She said that all of us are brave. And she said our names. I'm brave. Sarah's brave. Cassie is brave. Em is brave. Everybody is brave. All of our names. And that feels so much better. And she said, in now time, all of us are strong. And she said, I am strong. Cassie's strong. Them girls are strong. And Em is strong. And everybody's strong. And she said, in now time, we're getting braver every day. Now time is safe. And now time is brave. And she said, in now time, we're getting stronger every day, even healthier every day. And I know it's true because I was running at the park. And so I think it's working. For therapy is helping. For I'm brave again. I'm strong again. I'm healthy again. And also, I am safe, and everybody is brave, everybody is strong, everybody is safe, and now time is safe and brave and strong. I was awful glad to know about that, because brave and strong turns out is part of safe. So part of safe is brave and strong. And know where else I feel brave and strong? I'm glad we win Missouri. I like playing by the river. I like playing in the good woods. I like walking. And I like Silver Dollar City an awful lot. Because they got hot dogs with potatoes on them. Like wrap around, curl around my big old hot dog. They got popcorn. They got ice cream. They got Dippin' Dots, they got taffy, they got sausage, they got funnel cake, they got so many snacks at that place, and I really like that place if I tell you the truth about it, because they got some good snacks. They also got some rides, but I can't go on some rides because we gotta stay with that baby. And I get to walk around and I get to look at things and I can keep that baby safe. That little girl, she hurt her leg. She can't walk right now, but she already got a wheelchair from being sick, so that's okay. And I said, listen, little girl, you're 4 now. You had a birthday. You want to know, baby. So I'm not pushing your chair. You're pushing your chair. You got to learn how to do it. And I teach her how to roll herself on the wheelchair. And now she can do it just a little bit. And so she said, man, why did you teach her? I can't even keep up with her now. And I said, because your baby on the move. Because she's not even a baby no more. She's a big kid. Because she's 4. She got to learn how to do things. And I said, if you got broke leg, you got to learn how to roll. And also, we went swimming. And I love swimming more than anything else in the whole world. Not like a swimming hole, just a swimming pool. But I like swimming holes too, but you got to find them and know you got permission. But here we got permission for a swimming pool, so I got to do that. And when we drive from Branson to the therapist, well, guess what? We get to bring our own sandwiches, and I like a good sandwich. I had me a sandwich, and I made a sandwich for all them kids. That means I made 8 sandwiches. That means I had to get out 16 pieces of bread. You know how long it takes to make 8 sandwiches? It takes a long time to make 8 sandwiches, but I did it. And I brought that therapist, I brought her a present from Silver Dollar City for she, I was thinking of her because we were buddies, but just a little tiny present for a little tiny thing of saying, snack time is safe. Thank you very much for teaching me. And this day could not be more wonderful or more beautiful and wonderful, and I really like it. I feel pretty good. I feel pretty good now because I was having some hard weeks, but you know what? I'm brave and I'm strong and I'm safe, and so I feel pretty good now, and I really like this beautiful day, the most beautiful day there ever was on the planet. So I'm kind of glad I'm here on this planet on a beautiful day like this. I see some dogwoods, they're white trees, and I see some red buds, they're pink trees, and I see some lilac on the fences, and I see some tulips and some daffodils, and I see some forsythia. That's like a big old yellow burning bush, and I know all about it because we used to have one at our house, and I could see it from the attic. So I see that, and I really like that bush, but I don't got one at house. You know what we do got at our house? Honeysuckle. You know what honeysuckle is? It's a snack time for emergency. You can have just a little dollop. You might like it if you're out on adventure and need a little snack. And when you're playing in the woods, it makes the woods smell good instead of smelling like skunk. And I think today that therapist helped me a whole lot because I sure do feel better. I was starting to have a bad time of it, and I was having some hard weeks, but I sure feel better now. Everybody's safe, everybody's strong, everybody brave. That means we're not scared, we're not in trouble, we're not gonna get hurt, nothing. And if I can be really strong, I don't even gotta be sick. I'm just gonna get all better. And my doctor said, you know how to explain it. It just is looking good, and just keep doing whatever you're doing. And I said, well, what I'm doing is having a sandwich and some popcorn and some taffy and going outside and playing and talking to my therapist. And I thought, maybe them dead parents, they can be the cancer, and I just get right rid of them with my big old donkey kick. I get rid of cancer with the donkey kick, and I get rid of the bad people with a donkey kick, and I just get rid of all that bad stuff and just keep the good stuff. That's what I think. So my therapist, she's kind of like chemo, except she don't make me throw up except sometimes. And she don't make my hair fall out unless I pull it. So I like her better than chemo. Maybe I'll write her a letter and I'll say, therapist, I like you better than chemo. And maybe she'll know she's right special. I don't want her to forget she's my buddy, because now sometimes I just get to watch, but Sarah get to talk to her, and I'm glad Sarah can tell her things as she helps Sarah and them girls. But I got her there, and I'm important too, because I'm brave and strong, and that keep us safe. So I I can just not forget, and we can play football someday, and maybe I'll remember and she'll remember and she won't forget about me, and 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 I can help them know now time is safe, and now time is brave, and now time is strong. And if we remember that, then I think everything's gonna be just fine.
I love John Mark.
Thank you for joining us with System Speak, a podcast about dissociative identity disorder. You can listen to the podcast on Spotify, Google Play, and iTunes, or follow along on our website, www.systemspeak.org. Thanks for listening.
I think I'll play the... Wait, let me see how long the next one is. Probably too long. Oh yeah, the next one's 50 minutes. I think I will play more of the thing that was playing in pre-stream, which is the lo-fi video game music. Just because I'm almost done, but I don't want it to be silent. Maybe we'll make the swirls a little. grabbing me. Meow. Meow. Meow, meow, I'm gonna make sure no pixels are out of place so I don't have to go back and fix stuff again. Like I had to do with Tizzy. Oh, this got fixed. Scoopy doll. Oh, he's just a pet. He changed his mind. Got an idea. Should it go all the way to the other side of the island? Okay. And now to see it in action. I hit the wrong button. So close mouth, but open eyes. I gotta change the thing to floating too. I think that would look really cool. Was that vibing? Yeah. Hello. I don't know if we like this sheet. Maybe just. I'm the admin now. I am the admin now. It's funny because I love how this came out so much. Oh, we're so excited to eventually use this. Dada wants to do a guest stream where they read the manga. Oh, I'm so excited. I love this. Ah! I mean, I like all the PNGtubers I made, but I really like this one because of how the floating really works for the position. Oh, it's so fun. We'll definitely want to have fandom float too. I guess it can show the two sketches. Or I feel like everyone's probably seen. Everyone here would have seen it already, but I could always do it again. For next coloring stream, there also might be other things I want to color. Who knows? I want to color Phantom and Harmony. Horse. Those streams with Dada reading Magical Girl Sight and Ghost reading Soul Eater. Ooh, might be interesting. We should probably read the Soul Eater manga. Ah! La 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 la. I'm sorry, I'm so entranced by this. I'm just so happy with how it looks. I closed it, but it takes a second to close. There it goes. I killed Dada, oh no! Oh, thank you. One second. Let me... Oh, I gotta turn. Sometimes I get scared when that scary mouse pointer comes and turns me. Thank you for coming to coloring. That's been so much fun. I think I'll come back to more coloring in like 3 weeks. Oh, maybe longer actually, because we're gonna be out of town in a couple weeks. But my next stream is gonna be more one-shot, and then I go back to coloring. I like to alternate between a game and coloring. Our next stream is tomorrow night with Magma doing a little celebratory stream of Magma. It's 5 years anniversary of when we first discovered Magma. And Magma's gonna read old Tumblr posts we made when we discovered Magma. And Magma's gonna play Demon Turf Tower just to show you how it's beatable and to prove himself after the first stream of attempting to beat the tower. Magma anniversary day, yippee! And then hopefully Magma will also be able to say our schedule by the end of the stream. They are being very slow with telling us our Domino's schedule, which will be our last week at Domino's, but they haven't come out. They haven't updated the schedule yet. Why is it taking so long? It's almost the next week. It is really the next week, but they count Sunday as the last day of the week. Anyway, I'm gonna raid the Fookster, who looks like playing Brawl and possibly SAR. Get that going. Have a wonderful rest of your day or night. Thank you, Noelle. We look forward to seeing you next time. Take care of your little self. Bye-bye.